Welcome to the lesson, Digital Pressurization. Aircraft with a maximum operating altitude of 35,000 feet are fitted with a microprocessor-based pressurization controller which controls cabin pressure automatically using two outflow valves. The controller automatically schedules cabin altitude during climb and descent up to a maximum of 8,000 feet at an aircraft altitude of 35,000 feet. Following a controller failure, cabin pressure may be controlled manually. Automatic protection facilities are available to control maximum positive and negative differential pressure and maximum cabin altitude. Cabin pressure information is indicated on a separate display. Bleed air is supplied to the passenger cabin from the air conditioning packs. Cabin pressure is controlled by regulating the amount of air allowed to leave the cabin through the outflow valves. These are electrically signaled and pneumatically actuated. An air supply from any engine or the APU must be available for their operation. In automatic mode, the system operates using one of two channels to control the outflow valves. In normal operation, the primary channel controls the primary outflow valve with the secondary outflow valve pneumatically slaved to it. Should the primary channel fail, the secondary channel will automatically control the secondary outflow valve with the primary outflow valve slaved to it. This is indicated by PRI on the controller and pressurization on the central warning panel. The normal controller display can be restored by pressing Clear Display Fault. Should the secondary channel fail, SEC is indicated on the controller and pressurization on the central warning panel. The primary channel will be unaffected. If both automatic channels fail, Dual is indicated on the controller and pressurization amber illuminates on the central warning panel. The cabin pressure can be controlled manually using the mode selector switch and the manual rate knob. The system is normally operated in the auto mode with the outflow valve selector in the normal position. The outflow valves are controlled automatically to maintain comfortable rates of climb and descent in the cabin throughout the aircraft's operating range. Two outflow valve annunciators illuminate when the respective valves are fully open. Cabin rate of climb, differential pressure, and cabin altitude are displayed on the pressure controller and the quad gauge. The intended landing altitude can be set using the LDG ALT control. Landing altitude is displayed on the quad gauge and on the controller. The controller display will revert to cabin altitude after 5 seconds.
Each discharge valve has a ditching valve that is operated electrically. It opens with ditch selected, and on ditching, water enters a chamber in the discharge valve. The valve then closes under the influence of a spring. This ensures that water cannot enter the aircraft via the discharge valves. Selection of ditch illuminates "Press in" on the central warning panel to indicate abnormal operation.
Selecting dump fully opens both outflow valves. This selection illuminates pressurization on the central warning panel to indicate abnormal operation. The controller has a built-in test facility. This is performed on power-up continuously during flight and after flight. If a failure is detected, the appropriate failure code is displayed on the controller display. A failure not requiring pilot action, such as a single-channel failure, is accompanied by a white pressurization caption on the central warning panel. A major system failure requiring pilot action, such as a dual-channel failure, is accompanied by an amber pressurization caption on a central warning panel. Each failure code displayed on the controller may be cleared by one push of the Clear Display Fault button. However, the amber pressurization caption remains lit. A ground pressurization switch on the ground test panel allows ground functioning of the pressurization control system. When pressed, an integral warning light illuminates. The weight on wheel switch is overridden and the outflow valves may be closed. The software of each control channel includes cabin differential pressure protection in both automatic and manual modes. If differential pressure exceeds 7.35 psi below 27,000 feet or 7.45 psi above 27,000 feet, the controlling channel will demand a rate of climb to reduce differential pressure. If differential pressure exceeds 7.6 psi, differential pressure flashes and pressurization illuminates on the central warning panel. If differential pressure continues to increase, pneumatic protection within both outflow valves will limit maximum differential pressure to 7.7 psi. Pneumatic protection within each outflow valve limits negative cabin differential pressure to minus 0.5 psi. Below minus 0.5 psi, differential pressure flashes and pressurization illuminates on the central warning panel. If the cabin altitude exceeds 8,700 feet, cabin altitude flashes until the clear display fault button is pressed. If the cabin altitude continues to rise, the cabin altitude display will flash again at 9,700 feet, and cabin high altitude will illuminate on the central warning panel. The clear display fault button will not stop the display flashing. The maximum operating altitude is 35,000 feet. The maximum pressure differential up to 27,000 feet is 7.5 psi. Above 27,000 feet, the maximum differential pressure is 7.6 psi. Following a loss of software differential protection, the maximum differential pressure is 7.7 psi. The cabin differential pressure must not exceed 0.1 psi during takeoff and landing. The condition of the primary and secondary outflow valve should be checked. When the batteries are selected on, all the segments of the quad gauge should be checked serviceable as the system self-tests. After AC power has been applied to the aircraft bus bars, the ground pressurization button on the ground test panel should be pressed to confirm that the filament is functional. The button should be pressed again to disable the ground test facility. The pressurization controller is set up by checking the outflow valves are selected to normal. The mode is